Shalom to ones and ones. It's Moshe Omarie. We're back again with some advice and some tips for new musicians, new singers, new guitar players, new beat makers, ones that are coming into this thing, or maybe ones that want to form a rebirth of maybe their old sound transitioning into a new sound, right? Many people have asked me, how can I go about creating my own sound? It's so much like music out there. Like, how can you have something that is new, unique? The easy answer is you play or create what you love to listen to, or what you envision to be something that you think other people would listen to. But first, it has to be what you enjoy. You have to have a balance. You can't always think about making music just to say, okay, if I make this, are other people gonna like it? You need to like it. You have to envision making this music for yourself. Are you going to be able to sit and listen to this music? You can't make music that you don't personally like. You can. People do that today for money. I call them entertainers, and I don't call them artists. Those people are entertainers, where they do anything just to get views and likes and comments out of people. But if you're a real artist and you're coming from an authentic place, and it's a way for you to express yourself, for a lot of people, this is a healing for themselves. So if this is so healing for you, maybe it could be healing for someone else. So those are the first steps and first things to think about when you're desiring this idea of creating your own sound. So ones might say, oh, you're making it seem so easy. You're saying it as if it's so easy. This is not a very easy thing. Think about it. As you watch this video, think about it. What is the kind of music that you listen to 24/7? It makes you feel good on the days you want the music to make you feel good, on days that you want to get motivation. This is the music that brings you motivation. On days, that you're sad, these are the music that uplifts you. On days that you're overly excited and you need to chill and hold a meds, what kind of music that is. For some, that might be multiple genres. Speaking for myself, that so happens to be a multi-genre situation that in this time I've finally balanced to where I can put these things together. For people that are deeply spiritual and in tuned with their ancestry and who they are, speaking of people from the diaspora who maybe have lost the connection with their original people up on their ancestors coming to the West for many different purposes. We won't even get into that. I'm sure you guys know what I'm trying to say. Something that's helped me a lot was reconnecting back to my roots. And I don't mean roots for the African Americans watching this. I don't mean, connecting just with my people that were from the South, but now I live in New York. No, I mean connecting with the people that may have came to America by force, or may have came here, right, may have came here for opportunity purposes. Who were those people prior? Who were their ancestors? What were they known for? And then most likely in every culture there is music. Music is a universal language, which means in every culture you can find some aspects of music. And usually the Pacific people do music for a specific purpose, or maybe they have a natural reason, a natural sound within those communities, right? So instead of just on the whim thinking of, any genre that you want to somehow be a part of, you could reconnect back with those, what is in what is of your DNA that would probably be natural to yourself, that you can probably carry on this generational sound, right? For me, right, I descend from the Fulbe people. Some know us as Fulani, some know us as Felata, Wadabe, all these different names. still falling under these categories, Tuareg, Berber, all these different kind of things. Other side of family, I'm of the Sephardic Jewish ancestry, right? So for me, that gives me an interesting way of thinking about how to put together a sound that is not just unique to my way of thinking, but unique to my ancestry. And it could bring a lot of strength in myself. It also help you do some healing for many generational traumas, but also, right, will be something that might be very natural for you to create. So that is a way to look at it. But also for me, I was born and raised in Jamaica. So in Jamaica, there's multiple genres, which well known, everybody knows, reggae, dancehall, all these different things, right? So I won't give a full story of Jamaican music history. I'll save that for a specific video in itself. But I would just say I spent the last 10 years or so making reggae music of different subgenres of reggae music, putting in some R&B and a little bit of hip hop, because when I moved to America, that's the people that I was surrounded by, that's the music that they made that was very natural to them, that they felt like this owed the strength to them. I had to find my way into that. You know what I'm saying? I started doing hip hop. I was in a group that wasn't from like my actual culture. I wasn't raised listening to hip hop. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a good songwriter, and, I have a very musical energy. So I was able to adapt to that sound. But while adapting to that sound, what made me fit into the sound was me actually studying the history of how that sound and kind of music came about. To the point that years in making that music, people thought I was making that music forever and that I was raised listening to some boom bap, old school hip hop and all this stuff. And really, I was not. I just gravitated to it and what I call going to hip hop school. You know what I'm saying? Reading, watching videos, talking to people, learning things. Later in that journey, I realized, okay, this wasn't necessarily fueling me 100%. It was fun to create, but it wasn't fully fueling me, right? So I started to transition from the hip hop into the reggae music, into playing instruments and singing and things like that, because I descend from a lot of singers and a lot of people that play instruments, right? In my immediate family, not like even my ancestry, that's a whole nother thing. Like they played music and sang for sure. But in my immediate family, I have singers and stuff, AKA my dad. is a singer, DJ, and does a lot of different things. My cousin is a famous reggae artist. Won't mention his name in this video, but all of these different things, okay? So I started to fully go into that, just 100%. Started reaching out, trying to form a band. People were looking at me like I'm crazy, like, you're not going to make hip-hop anymore? You're randomly going to make reggae? Because everybody associated me with just being this hip-hop person. Not many people knew I was even born and raised in Jamaica, because I adopted to the sound so much that it didn't even, it was completely foreign to anybody to think that that would ever be possible, right? It wasn't until years later that they at first when I was doing it, they're like, oh, man, this is going to flop. Like, he's not going to do anything with that. He's going to realize he needs to come back over here. Lo and behold, the most strides, the most progression that I've had in my musical journey was me making that transition. As soon as I made that transition, I was able to travel around. I was able to go places I never thought I would possibly be able to go. And in reality, that was because not only was that a music natural to me that I grew up hearing, and probably from I was in the womb, that music was being played, but it felt more aligned with my natural purpose and why I wanted and what content, what message I wanted to give to people. My purpose of music was to spread a form of awareness, a form of self-love, be a reflection to other people that don't necessarily speak or make music, but can relate so they don't feel like they're alone in this world. And that's what the platform of reggae music gives for you. Don't get me wrong, in hip-hop you have that. But speaking of hip-hop today, it's about, let me say, the coolest thing and the most coolest punchlines, that's going to make somebody go, oh, and not have to think. A lot of people don't want to think today about anything. You get what I'm saying? And that's why people are in this predicaments that they're in. But that genre was strictly focused on that. And I was like, this is what I need to be on, because my music journey started with this. As a kid, I was very, very shy. I did not speak to people much. And what I had was music. I knew how to sing. I would spend so much time singing at home. I would write my little songs and poems. I would show them to my mom. I would be like, look at this, all these different things. And that was a way for me to fully love myself and like actually feel like I can express the things that were in my head, you know? So that actually ended up being something that manifested a lot of growth mentally, physically, spiritually for me, because it was actually more aligned with my purpose of why I wanted to do those things. And later in life, I realized the same reason and the same content that I put inside of my music so happens to be the same content that my ancestors put in their music and that are known for on the continent of Africa to do. So it ended up being full circle, didn't even know. So outside of reggae music, you know what I'm saying, I love blues music, soul, things like that. You know what I'm saying? It just invokes energy. Like people always said, oh, when you sing, when I sing, they can just hear this, you know, they can hear the pain or the joy or whatever it is behind the music. And like, that's what I got from a lot of blues, soul music. And my dad sings a lot of that kind of music. And so growing up, I would hear a lot of different artists, real singers that sang about, you know, love, yet again, like awareness, different things down that matter. I'm self-taught in all the instruments that I know. I'm self-taught as a producer. I'm self-taught in pretty much everything that I do. At first, I used to think it was a curse, but really now it gives me a discipline to be able to help other people, because now I'm like, okay, if I could do this, I should be able to form a blueprint for other people that need help. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully other people don't have to go through what I had to go through to get to these spaces. So yeah, really love blues music. I incorporated it into the reggae sound of music. It's funny when people would write, when we would do a show or a concert and people would write about us like on a blog or something, and they would say, they come in with this roots reggae, soul, blues. Like they didn't know what to call it. They knew it was reggae because it had like, you know, the classic reggae bass lines with the chicken, you know, the sound. But then the layers on top of it were just like very bluesy, and the licks, the guitar licks and things like that. So that's like another transition, right? But it's a transition to formulate some form of a hybrid, right? Ironically, my Fulbe people, the Tuareg people, people of those matters, have this music, traditional music in Africa, which in my opinion, and in the opinions of many people, this is the foundational roots for what blues music came from, right? And I so happen to descend from the people that played that music. They never met any Europeans. They didn't meet any Americans. So no one can say, oh, they were influenced by the sounds here. No. The people from there were taken on slave ships and brought to the Americas, to the Caribbean, and to places like that, and created this sound and built an instrument called like the banjo, which comes from many instruments from those genres in Africa that I'm talking about, right? So up on me finding out that I descended from these groups of people, from these tribes, everything made sense. Everything made sense. My musical journey, why am I gravitating from one thing to the next? And it's like today I could say, I finally get it. I finally understand it, right? So the whole idea of like creating your own sound isn't just, I like listening to this artist, so let me try to create music just like this artist. No, it's I like this sound of music because in every genre there's subgenres, right? In every genre there's subgenres of that same music. There's branches of these on these what I would say, right? You have a tree, right, which is the root of the music. You got the root, you got the tree, and then you have branches that go into different directions, which sounds are added. There's hybrids, forms of different music. And today I'm making more music to align with my ancestry. And it's not just aligning with my ancestry, it's aligning with my soul, because I've been yearning to reconnect to that. So now I see all the different kind of sounds of music I've made over the last 10 years or more. It's all led up to this moment. I'm not saying I'm never making reggae music again, or you're never going to hear hip hop, because I still make hip hop beats, but I don't have the urge for me to rap on those beats. I'll freestyle and I'll be like, oh, this is funny. I don't have the urge. Like, it's not fueling me. You know what I'm saying? And then certain aspects of the reggae genre doesn't necessarily fuel me anymore, because a lot of things are repetitive with the mainstream world of these genres, to when someone like me makes it a little bit more authentic in the year of 2020 of 2025, it's looked at like, oh wow, he's making something like this, or like it doesn't get as much looks, or people don't pay attention to it. It's kind of like an underground, even though it was the foundation of the music itself. And like, I don't want to have to deal with that. I just want to make the music, you know what I'm saying, because it feels good, it sounds good, it invokes an energy, not just in me, but can invoke an energy in other people, right? It's positive. I'm not making music about harming or doing anything to anyone. And it's a beautiful thing, and aligns with my purpose. So I've been talking to a lot of people, right? From both my African side and from both my Jewish side. And the same approach that I'm going for so happens to be what they're telling me. They're like, yo, you could be a bridge in the gap between these communities and the diaspora by what you're trying to do. I thought I was crazy. I was like, why am I going into these genres like I'm doing this? It's like chanting some old, some old Sephardic North African energy of like, like a cappella music, where it's just like call and response situation, very similar to like blues and very similar to like Fulani and Tuareg music, but this so happens to be the Jewish side of it. And I'm like, wait, this is actually not so different from what I'm already going into. So I'm realizing, okay, what am I going to is going to fully align with my purpose. And then what I'm finding out as well is that, wow, I can also put that sound on top of the Western genres, aka reggae music and soul music and blues here in the West, and create something that brings these communities together. And when I talk to people in these communities about this, like the other day I shared some Fulbe Tuareg music, my Jewish friends thought it was some ancient Jewish music. Vice versa. I share some ancient Jewish music. My friends from those tribes in Africa, they're like, what artist is that? I didn't hear that artist, because they think it's their music as well. So we see this universal language, and I seem to be a hybrid of these two different communities that made music for spiritual and awareness purposes. Ceremonial events, things like that. Storytellers that would go around the different villages and tell people and retell people stories. For those that know me, they know outside of music, I love history, I love genealogy, spirituality of all sorts. I help people on their journey when it comes to those things, you know what I'm saying? I'm a teacher in my own right at times, naturally and humbly. So to be able to not have those two things be separate, to not just be a singer, musician, producer over here, and then over here I'm helping to teach people and giving history. The fact that today I can put those things together, that's what makes my sound, and that's what makes it unique to me. So for anyone watching this and you gotten this far in the video, think about when you listen to music, what about the music gives you this energy to where you want to hit repeat on it, or to where when you're down, you automatically think of a genre or specific songs that invoke that energy that is going to be positive, right? We're all striving to be happy and to be positive. So the best thing would be go with what is going to invoke those energies. You don't need to try to make music like the dude over just because he has a nice chain and he makes songs talking about he's going to rob this dude and do that. You're like, oh, I need to make that too, even though that doesn't fuel your soul, right? Also, we need to keep in mind that music is frequency, and the frequency of all this modern music made today is very unnatural for the human body, very unnatural for the mind. You're doing more harm to yourself than good. So do you want to add on to doing more harm to the world, or do you want to do good? The sound that you want to create, whether you're a singer, producer, musician, you know what I'm saying, whatever you beat making, whatever you're doing when it comes to the music, make sure you think about that, because you don't want it to be too late to where you realize that you're driving yourself in the opposite direction from where you want. The average person wants peace. So why not make music that invokes that energy? We're not saying to make songs saying, hey, I'm happy every day and everything is great. No, invoking positivity is also being relatable. You can have a song saying today was a bad day, but you know what? Tomorrow might be better. How about that? You know what I'm saying? So that's what I have to say in this video. Please leave a comment if this have helped you, or if you would like these kind of reasonings. But I was just called to share this because I'm like, many people have asked me, and even when I post stuff, they're like, what sound is this? Like, I need more of this. And I'm like, thank you for being a reassurance. It's like Hashem is like putting these people here to be a mirror to say, hey man, keep doing what you're doing no matter what. Even if it feels like you're rebranding and it feels like you're restarting from scratch, it's a beautiful thing, and just be strong in it. Chazak u'varuch.